Evicting a tenant can seem like an overwhelming process, but in this video we'll quickly explain the eviction laws in Washington and go through some simple steps that landlords can take to file an eviction action in court. We're eForms, the largest online database of fillable legal forms. In this video we'll talk about what the eviction process looks like, how Washington laws affect evictions, and how to legally remove a non-compliant tenant from a property. If you stick around until the end of this short video, we'll direct you to a fillable eviction notice that you can use to get the process started. First, what is an eviction? Eviction is the process of legally removing a tenant. Even when a tenant doesn't pay rent, it's illegal for a landlord to change locks on a property or physically remove a tenant from that property. If the tenant refuses to leave after violating the terms of a lease agreement, a landlord must seek an eviction from the court. Eviction is different from the simple termination of a lease. A landlord can opt not to renew a lease after the specified term has ended. There is no need to involve a court in this process. When a tenant renting in Washington fails to pay rent or breaches the terms of their lease agreement in some other way, the landlord's first step is to send an eviction notice. In the state of Washington, there are 4 versions of this notice. We'll go through each one so you can figure out which one suits your situation. The 3-day notice to quit gets used when the tenant gets caught doing something illegal. Examples of illegal activities would include prostitution or illegal drug distribution on the premises. This basically just lets the tenant know that within 3 days they have to either move out or face a formal eviction proceeding in court. The 10-day notice to quit, by contrast, gets used when the tenant breaches the terms of a lease in some way that's not related to paying rent and not related to illegal activity. An example of this kind of lease violation is allowing an unauthorized person to stay in the rental unit. This one gives the tenant 10 days to either fix the problem identified in the notice or face eviction. The 14-day notice to quit gets used when the tenant fails to pay rent on time. This notice gives the tenant 14 days to either pay rent or face eviction. Finally, the 20-day notice to quit is different. This can be used when a tenant has not committed a lease violation. It's used to notify the tenant of the coming end of a month-to-month tenancy. Per Washington law, the landlord must deliver the notice by handing it personally to the tenant. If the tenant is not home, the landlord can leave a copy with another tenant or send it through certified mail. If the notice is sent by mail, then 1 additional day gets added to the time period specified in the notice. No matter the method of delivery, the landlord must obtain proof of service for the court. If the tenant does not respond to the notice by moving out or resolving the issue that the notice addresses, then the landlord can begin the formal eviction process. In Washington, this is most commonly known as an unlawful detainer action. The landlord can commence this by filing 2 forms known as an eviction complaint and a summons in the Superior Court in the same jurisdiction as the rental property. On the summons, the court clerk will set a hearing date. Copies of both forms should be served on the tenant. If the landlord is not able to personally serve the summons, then state law allows the landlord to post them in an obvious place at the rental property and send it to them in the mail. Both actions must be taken at least 9 days before the hearing date. A certificate of service must be filed with the court as a means of proving the documents were properly served on the tenant. At this point, the tenant has 6 days to respond or lodge a counterclaim by filing a form called an answer with the clerk. If the tenant doesn't respond or doesn't make a counterclaim, either by filing the answer or lodging one during the eviction hearing, or if the judge rules in the landlord's favor, the court may issue a writ of restitution, which returns the property to the landlord. We've got everything you need to get eviction proceedings going in Washington. From eviction notices to court documents, you can access all of it at the link below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos on important legal topics for property owners.